Wave, and we are back
Again.
all right, today, beautiful day. But what we're gonna talk about is pretty interesting because it's like a double-edged sword, right? Sometimes it takes quite a lot for you to see what's really happening. You have to take a step back to understand what's really going on. There's been some issues around, Chinese oil executives in Niger, and the government is trying to get rid of them because they think they're not being fair to their local workers, and that the expats that the Chinese bring in are making more money than the locals. But the question really is, usually from what my understanding is, and traveling a little bit around the world, usually expats always, if it makes sense, usually expats always make more money than the locals, right? I think that's an interesting concept because it feels like it's unfair. But when you think about it, it's almost like people leave their home countries, their families, friends, their way of life, and they come to a new country just to offer their services or work. And then in this case, things and the way the locals live, it's very difficult to adapt. So usually they have to go to like restaurants that are like catering to their culture. So usually those are expensive, right? It's like a foreign restaurant on a local ground. Hotels and accommodation. Usually expats are charged a little bit more than the locals. Then again, you have to repatriate some money back to your family. So I think there are a lot of things that go into expats being paid a lot more than locals. Because locals, right, all the corners where to get cheap food, where to go shopping, markets, how to cook on your own. But with the expats, it's a bit different because most of these guys, especially men, we come in without our wives, right? So everything is done on your own. So you usually go to restaurants to eat, you go to hotels that will be a little bit more accommodating to your culture, be a Chinese hotel in Ghana or a Chinese hotel in Niger. So I think there is a justification for foreign expat workers being paid more than the locals. Let's know what you think. But before that, let's get into why we are here today. Today we're going to talk about why Niger kicked out these oil execs and is it justified? Dealers. Alright, so Niger has been in the news for a long while now, but today it's not about politics or, change of government or stuff like that or coups. Fortunately, that's a good thing. So we're going to be talking about the CNPC being a China oil company or Chinese oil company that is working hand in hand with the Nigerian government. Now, it's not accusations, they are like facts, and the government is not really happy because they think the locals and the expat Chinese, they deserve to be paid equal salaries. Over to you guys. Let's do that quick before we get into the next stage. Do you think locals and expats, right, workers should get paid equally?
I think like you broke it down in the introduction. When it comes to experts here we're talking about foreign experts. Usually that's what is termed. So it's assumed that these people are experts and they are being brought in to fill roles that cannot be filled from within the country. So in that sense, they get better benefits than the locals, and it happens everywhere. So I think yeah, it is justified. I don't know the details of what has been going on and what has prompted this, but from just what I know, usually foreign experts are paid more. So it's not an issue of being justified. I think that's just the way things are, coupled with what you explained earlier.
Yeah, because also let's not forget the fact that they're paid a lot higher because it's one of the things that
Mm-hmm.
attract the foreign experts onto the land. If their salaries are going to be like the local, workers' salary, then there is no incentive for them to leave their home
Mm-hmm.
countries and
Mm-hmm.
come to your country to work
Yeah.
for you. You know what I mean? Because in this case, Mr. S, let's look at what the disparity is. We're talking about $8,678 per month for the Chinese workers, 8,678, while the locals take home $1,200, which I understand to most it's a lot. It's not bad, but if we talk about the job scope, it's pretty much they do the same thing. So the thing is, 1,000. If you think about 1,200, somebody taking an air flight, I mean, the flight round trip is gonna cost more than 1,200, right? So you have to put all that into perspective. They're leaving their family, they're leaving their community, their loved ones, they're leaving their country, which they should be contributing to, right? And they bring all this expertise down into your country. So do you think they are deserving of being paid more than the locals?
Surely, with all the things you've listed, Why not? Secondly, the kind of knowledge they are looking for, they are getting it from outside. So definitely you
Mm,
have to pay for it, you know?
mm,
And for me, I don't get it. If someone is an expert working in your country with all the let's say the highest certificate, right?
mm,
That the job requires, you don't expect the person to be paid like the cleaner, right? Or the vice. Or it doesn't work like that anywhere. But once again, it is on the country because I've seen countries that after some period they kind of reform that law that
mm,
helps their citizens. So let's say Leo is in that education wise, that is what he
mm,
has done. He's qualified to be the head of engineering department in your company. A law has been changed that you have to consider a Ghanaian first, right? If the company goes against it, then the government can go after that company. But there is no
mm.
law like that. What do you expect the company to do?
Yep, I got you. So we're talking about expertise and skill set
Yes.
because this is where it gets interesting. The fascinating thing is that the Nigerian government is saying it's gonna expel executives or the experts who've been working there for more than 4 years. But this has become a problem. Guess why?
Why?
Guess why it's very difficult to
Because of the
implement
lack
this
of
this kind of
skills.
either
Why?
policy or because the locals do not have the skill set to do what the Chinese are doing. So now it's become a problem. If we get rid of these guys, our refining is pretty much gonna be halted. So in this case, there's been a lot of people who say, okay, when the Chinese come to your country, they come, looking out for their own interests. But the question is, who doesn't? Why would any expat come into a country and look out for your country's interests? At the end of the day, there are contracts that are signed,
Mm-hmm.
right? These are not people who just come in and start, pilfering and taking things out of the country. There are authorities, there are channels, there are right, ways to do things, there are taxes to be paid. So if you say something is unfair, is it the expat community or the foreign companies that are not doing the right thing, or it's your local government that is allowing them to do that?
I
Mr.
think
L,
from
take this one
the
away.
agreement stage or the contract signing stage, here we are talking about mining, right? And when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to mining,
Mm-hmm.
maybe they do have a justification for this move because usually when it's a big company, it's a company that is coming into the country. Flight tickets and all these things for the whatever stuff they are already paid for, school for
Mm-hmm.
their kids and things like that. So we
Expats.
don't know all the details, but I think that all in all, no matter what the situation is, right? Yes, you signed a contract and you have to go by it, but it's also incumbent on the country, especially in mining, to make sure that or to mandate its local employees to learn quickly and to learn fast so that when it comes a time when you feel like
Mm-hmm.
this deal is unfair, we want to abrogate it and let the foreigners leave, then you have the people, the local expertise to take over. But if you don't
Mm-hmm.
make that preparation and then you suddenly feel like you are being cheated or your citizens are being cheated, what is the alternative? Because you haven't made provision for that. The people who are there, the locals who are there, think they're just working with foreigners and making their salary and just going to work every day. But are they improving? Are they mandated to learn something within a period of time? So I think all of these things should come in the contract signing stage where you tell whoever experts they are that we have four
Mm-hmm.
years and in 4 years you have to be while the work is going you have to be doing on the job training and things like that. So if you don't come to agreement on all these things, then it becomes even a legal issue when you all of a sudden say, okay, we don't need you anymore, you have to leave, but the contract is not over
Mm-hmm.
yet, right? So, and I think that's why sometimes African countries get involved in a lot of judgment debts and all that because we don't take our time to go into deals. We just rush into it thinking of the immediate benefits we will get.
Mm-hmm.
So I think all these things can be dealt with if we structure the pre-operation, how do you call it, negotiations properly.
Yeah, and another thing that came up is like they were like almost amongst 127 workers, about 80% of them are locals, which mean sorry, are like Chinese expats, which means the locals are not being absorbed into the company as much as the Chinese. But that still goes back to the question: is it a matter of expertise, people who can actually get the job done, or is it just a matter of just employing locals?
That's why I always say signing a contract, yeah, or agreeing on a contract with foreign companies. These things, Leo just mentioned it. It has to be in the contract that this number of locals should be given the first listening or the first job, right? And it's not based on just
Yes.
because they are locals, but they should qualify, right? So if it is proven that okay, we've employed other Chinese because the quality, right, we are looking for in that position, the locals are not qualified. That is why we've made him an assistant so that he can learn, right? So everything is about contracts and how it should be enforced. If we go with this mantra that it is my country, you come in, you have to employ our people. We know how we roll. A lot of our people can be lazy or laid back, right? And it's everywhere. I'm talking about human being in general. People can be laid back, especially when they've been given tokens. They know they can move companies. And okay, I'm a local. I have this certificate. I moved to Leo. No, you need to prove beyond reasonable doubt. Listen, there are examples I can list in this country we are living in, China here, where they gave positions just for the same rule. They gave positions to this some Chinese, and they were messing up a lot of foreign companies here because they did not have the know-how. Apart from the know-how, it takes something to lead. You understand? It doesn't take going to school alone to lead. It takes character. So if you don't have those things fixed together, it will be hard. So if somebody can come in, and we know, you see all these construction jobs all over the place, right? You can see what goes into getting those jobs done.
Yep. All right.
So
Yep.
it all goes
Yep.
down to the
Sorry.
contract. That's all.
Yeah, you're right about that because in China it's the same exact thing. When companies come in here, the government has an agreement with them. It's going to be what, a 50-50 cooperation. You have to employ these number of locals. I have my own company in China, right? And it's literally like across board. Once you open your company, you must have minimum one local Chinese working in there. If you're like a small entity, like a small business, that's the bare minimum. You have to employ one single Chinese in there. To talk about the big, guns, BMW, whatever, they all have these, same contract. You cannot come into China and do something like solely, a sole representation or a sole, what's the word again? Company affiliate or whatever. You have to always partner with the Chinese local company. That's how they've kind of progressed to this stage because of the knowledge transfer, right? Naturally, you impart the knowledge or you transfer the knowledge or the technological knowledge to their people. And for me, just like I said, it's all about the contractual agreements. So if you say, oh, the Chinese are always playing smart, they come into your country, they bring their own people. What was stated in the contract?
Thank you.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, let's pay the spade. We always got to stop pointing fingers. Then again, we need to understand and face the fact that they have a broader spectrum of skill set workers.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So when they come in, they bring these guys to get the job done. So if you want them to transfer whatever technological or whatever knowledge to your people, then just be like, okay, the contract, we're gonna do 50% of your engineers, 50% of our engineers. They have to work together.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm trying to say? So why do we always point fingers and make it look like when the Chinese come into your account, they come for their own gains? What kind of expert come into your country and comes for
Yeah,
your
I mean,
gain?
look at Ghana did a
Yeah.
similar thing. I think not too long ago, 2, 3 years ago, during President Akufo-Addo's time, he went to the Ghana Gas in Takrady, and they made all the Chinese engineers leave. All of them. They were replaced by Ghanaian engineers because the Ghanaian engineers were like, now we've gotten to the stage where we know we can run this thing. And then they tried them and they did it. So now if you go
Yeah.
Ghana Gas in Takrady, I don't know if Abuazi or somewhere like that, the Ghana Gas, the drilling of the gas, the storage, the purification, everything is done 100%. If the news, if we are to go by the news, 100% is managed by Ghanaians. So that's where I'm saying that, like we're all talking about the same thing, right? At the contract stage, it has to be stated that our engineers will be working hand in hand with you. And when we get to the point where we think that decision should be our prerogative, if we think that we can handle it at any time, we can serve you a 2-month notice and say that, well, now we think we can handle it ourselves. We're giving you your severance, whatever, and you have to leave. If it's in the contract, when the time comes, they can't say no or they can't sue you because you already put it in there. If they've run for the at least 2 years, the minimum of 2 years, and you haven't said anything, then they keep working. But then after the statutory 2 years, if we think that we've learned enough and we can handle it ourselves, it's ours. If we think we can handle it ourselves, we'll just serve you a notice and you leave. But then these have to be enshrined
Yeah.
in the contract at the beginning so that there is that understanding. But like we're saying, that's what we don't do.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. To be very open and very like, give a little more context to the problem. The problem literally is like the pay gap. But I feel like it goes more beyond that. Now, let me read some comment that people made, and I think they've got like really good points. One person says, roads have been built and oil has been drilled for thousands of years. Why can't Africans do these jobs? That's the question number one. Why do you need to bring a foreign company to drill your own oil on your own soil? Mr. S, can you take that?
Sometimes you get,
That's a good question. Why can't you do it for yourself? And I think
that's
the
a
answer is
brilliant
pretty
question.
obvious. Yeah.
That's a brilliant question because
Yeah.
we talked about copying, right? For thousands of years or hundreds of years now, we hear this country now has oil. They've started. They're doing it. Why should the Saudis do it? Why can the Saudis do it? Why can other countries do it, but we cannot? It's a brilliant question. I need. I don't know why. I don't know. I don't have answers to it because it should be done. In this modern age, we should not be asking companies, foreign companies from heaven to come and mine our oil, mine our gold and diamonds and our resources.
You know,
We
you
should
know
be
what I
doing it
think?
all by
I think
ourselves.
that I would bring a little
For
bit of inferiority complex into this. And I'll explain.
You
Because
just took the
personally,
words out of my
my
mouth.
immediate senior in school, he won a scholarship. He did what they call pipeline engineering in Norway. And now he works with oil companies around the world. There was a time he was in Dubai working with one of the oil companies, and he had to approve that certain pipeline be laid somewhere before it's done because he was an expert in the environmental hazards and the feasibility studies and all those things. So I don't want to believe that Africa doesn't have the experts. They might not necessarily be on the continent
We
because
do.
we don't, that industry, let's talk about just oil and gas, right? That industry is not big enough. I mean, I think, T, you also have a friend who works in Australia in the mining sector. There are many African experts all around the world, but for some reason, the people who are the helm, we just feel like when you have a foreigner involved, that is when you know you are doing something good. But honestly, I mean, when COVID came, there were Africans, one doctor or something, he's Ghanaian. He was one of the ones who were preparing the vaccines for COVID-19. There is a plastic surgeon in America. He's the best plastic surgeon in America. It's on YouTube. You can. So, yeah.
Yeah, but not to cut you off, but the point is why are they all working in the diaspora? Why are
Exactly,
they not
because we
working
don't
back
give
in
them
their countries?
incentives, and we always feel like
Because
a foreigner doing is better than our own
incentives.
locals. Look at Dr. Thomas. Let me just come in.
We talked
This
about
Dr. Thomas Manson, who passed away last year, was it 2 years ago? This fiber optics guy.
yes,
What
yes.
didn't he come to do? For 3-4 years, he was trooping into Ghana, trying to push this agenda of fiber optics. This is that. People were even laughing at him. So, but if it was a foreigner who came
Yes.
and was sending the same message, oh, he Minister of Communication, they will give him the platform. So it looks like we just don't believe in our own. We don't.
In ourselves, yeah.
Yeah, S, you want to have the last take before we wrap up?
He said it all. He said it all because
Yeah, from
you
my-
have to
yeah,
start
okay.
somewhere. You have to start somewhere, right? So even if you don't believe in yours, just start somewhere. Build upon it. Just build upon it. But we prefer to give it to, and you have to go back a bit. Sometimes some of these contracts and this dealings, you have colonial connotations in it, just because of past history and contract that were signed and all over it. But it has to take a strong leader to come in and say, listen, we have a lot of engineers in our midst, right? Assemble them, get them to do stuff. Invite our brothers and our sisters that are working outside, give them the same incentives, +1, and let them come back and start doing the same thing they are doing in other countries.
Yeah.
If you believe in yourself.
I don't think
This
it's gonna
thing
work.
should, yeah. Huh?
I don't think it, I mean, from my perspective, I feel like, cooperation is always the key to success. And I feel like, there's been countries that has been like, loggerheads with each other. I mean, if you pick countries like China and Japan, there's been like, a long history there when, what you call it, the Japanese occupation, blah, blah, blah. So there is this thing, that's the political side. But they still, on the like, development and, like knowledge transfer side, they've been cooperating forever. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So cooperation, you cannot, isolate yourself from the world and be like, you're going to do everything on your own. But the thing we have to understand is that, to acquire and master, like, technology, right? It takes a long time. It takes years. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like we just have to start gradually. But the most important thing is, just like the Chinese did,
Yeah,
your
look at them.
contract-
Look at them
yeah,
now. When they
your
started, they were
contracts-
laughing at them.
Exactly.
When they started,
Your
they were laughing at
contract-
them.
Your
You know?
contract with the foreign entities should have this clause stated clearly in there, right? About the transfer of knowledge. Because it's in everybody's interest. They're gonna make a lot of money, right? It's oil. You can bring your own people, bring 50%, 60 or 70%. We're gonna bring 30% of our people, right? But you have to teach them everything you know for maybe a span of 5 years. Because I think Burkina Faso did that with Huawei. I'm not sure about the backstory. They had a contract for just 5 years. And they said the same thing. They have to make sure they train their local people. So after 5 years, I'm pretty sure if the locals can
won't
do
need
it
you anymore.
themselves,
Yeah.
he's gonna kind
But
of
you
have to
know
like,
what is key?
not,
You know what
exactly,
is
not
key?
to resign. Because hold on,
You know
give me a second,
what is
because
key?
this is not really new. China also does that a lot.
No, but
They
you know
bring
what
you
is key?
in, you transfer the knowledge, and then they take it up on themselves.
Do you
yeah.
know what
Oh,
is
yeah.
key? Do
Yeah,
you
what's
know
the key?
what is key to this?
What
Enforcement.
is key?
Yeah.
And that is where we lack.
Yeah.
That is where we fall short. Enforcement. That is the most important, because you can bring all the rules in this world, and we know. Look at Ghana. We know. We always say we have
Maintenance
a
culture.
poor what do you call it? Maintenance culture, right? Why? Because we don't enforce our stuff. So yes, the rules can be brought in, and the companies will go like, okay, fine, we are willing to do it, because every company, like you're saying, coming in and taking a 50-60% of a certain resource is huge. So, but teaching you how to do it is it's not that costly, right? But somebody needs to enforce the rule. And that is where we fall short.
Immigration or whoever going into foreign companies to see if people have the right visas and all, just even visas. They don't do it. They're just sitting there. So even talking about enforcement of contracts is kind of like far-fetched.
Yeah, so for me, my thing is just contracts, man. If you do not put in the contract as like a government or a department or a branch of the government, you have yourself to blame. You cannot blame the Chinese, to be honest. Let's be honest. You know what I mean? We have countries that only focus on politics as opposed to focus on technology and stuff like that. Because like somebody rightfully mentioned, roads have been built since Adam. Why do we still bring in people to build our roads? Think about it. Roads, we're talking about roads, right? Asphalt roads. It's not new technology. If anything should be new, it's just machinery that is like, new. Let's not forget Burkina Faso kicked out all these government, or canceled these government contracts about for the road building, right, in Burkina Faso. And now they're awarding all those contracts to local contractors.
Yeah.
And they're getting the job done.
Why would they get it done? Because they know there's an eye that is enforcing the rule. Because,
Of course.
for example, in Ghana, I'm not shitting on our local contractors because a lot of them have done some great work. But those who did those kind of marvelous job, it is because they know they kept their standard, they do the job to their best. But you, look at a road being done in front of your community. It's just chippings. You can just gather it like that and throw, and then it's like that, right? Nobody's enforcing anything, and they just go like, oh, okay, you've done your road, right? But then they pay that person. Well, our key problem, and it's not I won't say you'll be surprised, but I wouldn't be surprised if you go to those companies, all those Chinese companies and other national international companies, and those rules are there. I would not be surprised. Those rules are there, but nobody goes enforcing it, and that is our problem.
Yep.
So
All right, man.
stop blaming the person who has come to rescue or help or support to some extent and still a little bit. Stop blaming them because your people should safeguard your resources. Don't let me go into that realm.
It's getting very passionate about the whole thing. No, I get it. It's pretty annoying when you think about it. So let's wrap it up. My thing is that, it's not like these guys literally just walked into their country, in that country on their own, right? There were contracts, there were agreements. This is why they all flew as a company and came to Niger. Am I right? They did not waltz in and just be like, we're just going to start drilling oil. There were contracts, there were agreements that were made. So let's not make it look like whatever they're doing is just according to their own volition. There were contracts, there were agreements that were signed. So now don't say that, they are like this, they are like that. Whatever they are doing, is it, contrary to what's in the contract? Then we have an argument, right? Was it in the contracts that you have to employ this number of locals and now you guys are not doing it? Then you have a cause to say you're going to fire them or you're going to, sack them or re-amend the contract or whatever decision you take. But don't make it look like they're just doing it based on their own volition. They just want to do it and they're just taking advantage of the country.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make sense? All right. So, yeah.
Sense.
Yep, fellas. So comment in the comment section. Is it the Chinese just doing it on their own just because they're bad people? Or is it the Nigerian government that did not pretty much negotiate better contract terms? Leave it in the comment section. We'll see you on the next episode. DLS out.